Aaron lived a quiet life on the orbital station that circled the blue world below. He was not a soldier, nor a leader, nor a pilot of shining ships. He was only a technician, someone who repaired broken lights, faulty air pumps, and the endless panels of wires that ran across the station walls. His days were ordinary and often silent, filled with the hum of machines and the flicker of screens. He never thought of himself as important, because people like him were rarely noticed. The station itself was not a place of wonder anymore. For most of the crew, it was simply home, floating far above the planet where they had once been born. The halls were long, the air always smelled faintly of metal, and the only views of beauty came through the wide windows that showed stars stretching into forever. Aaron sometimes stood at those windows when his shift ended. He liked to watch the distant stars and imagine what kind of worlds turned quietly under them. Yet when the day's work ended and he returned to his room, everything felt empty again. That night was no different, at least at first. His shift ended at the same hour, and he ate the same meal from the dispenser, a bland tray of heat-warmed food. Then he walked back to his quarters, a small square room with a single bed, a desk, and a sliding door that hissed softly when it opened. He placed his tools on the desk, sat down, and let out a breath. It was midnight station time, though the endless dark outside made it hard to feel the hour. Aaron stretched, ready to fall into sleep, when he heard a faint sound. It was not the usual hum of the air vents or the buzz of old lights. It was the sound of his door sliding open. Slowly, carefully, as though someone did not wish to be heard. He turned sharply, heart pounding. The door stood open, and in the frame of the doorway was a figure. A woman stepped inside, moving with strange calm. She wore clothes that looked torn and burned at the edges, silver fabric that had lost its shine. Her face was pale in the dim light, and her eyes glowed faintly as if reflecting hidden stars. Aaron rose from his chair at once. "Who are you? What are you doing here?" His voice was low, half afraid, half ready to call security. The woman looked at him and shook her head slowly. "Please do not call them," she said. Her voice was quiet, yet firm. "If they find me, they will take me back. And if they take me back, I will not return again." Aaron felt the air in his chest catch. There was something in her words that made them heavier than simple fear. He studied her carefully. She did not look like any officer or worker from the station. She looked both human and not. Her presence filled the small room in a way that unsettled him. "Back where?" Aaron asked. He kept his tone sharp, though he felt uncertain. "The inner labs," she said. "The hidden section near the core. They built something there, and they think it will give them power over all minds. I escaped, but they will come searching. I had to choose a door, and I chose yours." Aaron could not believe what he was hearing. He had worked on the station for years, and he had heard rumors, of course. People spoke of hidden projects near the central labs, places guarded by soldiers and sealed with high security. But no one ever knew details, and no one ever dared to ask. To hear this woman speak of it so plainly felt like stepping into a story, one he never expected to be part of. Still, his caution held. "Why me?" he asked. "Why this room?" The woman's lips curved into a faint smile, but it was not a smile of joy. It was a smile heavy with meaning. "Because you are unmodified," she said. "You are only human. You have not been changed, not by machines, not by chemicals, not by alien code. That is why I am here. Because you are the only kind who can resist." Aaron blinked at her words. Resist what? The machine, she answered simply. It does not work on pure human minds. But it works on everyone else. Silence filled the room for a moment. Aaron did not move, did not speak. His thoughts ran quickly, almost too quickly to follow. He had heard of machines that could change memories, that could bend people's thoughts. But they were stories from faraway wars, from places he thought would never touch his life. And yet here, in his room, stood someone who spoke of it as truth. He studied her again, and now he noticed details he had missed before. The faint glow in her eyes was not a trick of light. It was real. The air near her seemed to ripple ever so slightly, like heat rising from metal. She was human, yes, but something else ran through her as well. Something she had not chosen. You are saying you were part of this machine, Aaron said slowly. Yes, she replied. I was one of the first. I believed their promise. They said it would unite us with the knowledge of others, that it would make us more than what we are. I gave myself to their test. But what I found was not union. It was control. They built it not to share, but to erase. To make minds obedient. To turn people into empty shells that smile when ordered. Her voice trembled at the last words, but her eyes stayed fixed on him. Aaron felt a shiver crawl through him. And you escaped? She nodded. I resisted. The machine reached into me, but it did not take everything. Something inside me fought back. I am not whole, not anymore. Part of me is touched by what they built, but another part is free. That is why I ran. That is why I am here. Aaron could see the weight in her posture now, the exhaustion of someone who had carried too much for too long. She stood tall, but her arms trembled slightly, and her breathing was uneven. Yet in her eyes, there was no fear. Tell me your name, Aaron said at last, his voice softer than before. Myra, she replied. My name is Myra. Aaron did not know what to say. He felt the walls of his small room closing in around him, filled now with a secret far greater than he had ever wanted. But deep inside, under his fear, there was also something else. A spark of resolve. She had chosen his door, and now he had to decide what to do with that choice. Before he could speak again, the alarm system of the station echoed faintly through the hall outside. A distant, searching tone, as though the walls themselves were hunting for her. Myra's gaze did not waver. She stepped closer, her presence steady, her eyes calm. They will come, she whispered. But if you help me, if you listen, then maybe we can stop what they are building. Maybe it is not too late. And for the first time in years, Aaron felt that his ordinary life was no longer ordinary. It had become the center of something far greater, something dangerous, something that would test what it truly meant to be human. The sound of the alarm echoed faintly through the corridor. Aaron stood frozen for a moment, caught between his fear and the calm determination in Myra's eyes. He had lived on the station long enough to know what alarms meant. Someone was searching. Someone was moving closer. Yet instead of running, Myra stood tall, her gaze steady, as though she had already faced worse than this. Sit, she said gently, pointing toward his chair. We must talk before they arrive. There is not much time. Aaron did not sit, but he did not push her away either. His mind raced, but curiosity pressed against his fear. He wanted to know what she had seen, what truth she carried, and why she had chosen him. Slowly, he nodded, leaning back against the wall while Myra lowered herself onto the edge of his bed. I told you about the machine, Myra began, her voice calm though the alarm still hummed in the distance. What I did not tell you is what it does to those who cannot resist. You need to understand that before you decide if you will help me. Aaron's chest tightened. Tell me. Myra's eyes shifted toward the floor as though the memory itself weighed heavily. When a person enters the chamber, the machine reaches into the mind. It erases fear, erases doubt, erases the will to question. At first, it feels like peace. Like every worry is gone. But then the person realizes they no longer choose their own path. They obey without thought. They smile when commanded. They speak words not their own. The spark of who they were is gone, and what remains is only an echo. Aaron felt a chill run through him. He thought of his fellow workers, the men and women who laughed at the food hall, who argued over small things during repair shifts. He imagined them turned into empty shells, walking calmly with eyes that no longer shone. The thought was unbearable. You said you resisted, Aaron whispered. Yes, Myra said. But not because I am stronger than others. I was only lucky. Something inside me fought back. I do not know why. Perhaps it was because I still held doubt, or because I did not trust them fully. But when the machine pressed against me, part of my mind broke free. I am not untouched. You can see it in my eyes. You can feel it in the air around me. A piece of their design lives inside me, but I remain myself. Aaron studied her carefully now. He could see the faint shimmer in her gaze, the unnatural light that did not belong to human eyes. He could feel the subtle pressure in the air when she moved, as though the space around her bent slightly. She was right, she was not untouched. Yet she sat before him with steady breath and calm words. Human, but carrying something alien within. Why are you telling me all this? Aaron asked quietly. Because you are different, Myra answered at once. You are unmodified. Many on this station carry implants, enhancers, or chemicals in their blood to improve memory, speed, or strength. Small changes, but enough to weaken their resistance. The machine bends them easily. But you are still as humans once were. No additions, no alterations. That makes you stronger than you realize. That makes you the one they cannot control. Aaron blinked, shaken by her words. He had always thought of himself as ordinary, even lesser. While others improved their minds with implants or strengthened their bodies with enhancements, he had remained simple. Some laughed at him for it, calling him old-fashioned. He had accepted their jokes quietly, never proud, never defensive. Yet now Myra claimed that very simplicity was his strength. You think I can fight this machine, Aaron said slowly. I know you can, Myra replied. Not alone, but with me. Together we may destroy it. But I cannot reach the chamber alone. The station is filled with guards who see only orders. They will not question. They will not hesitate. I need someone who can think, who can act without their chain pulling him down. I need you. Aaron lowered his gaze, struggling to breathe evenly. The weight of her words pressed against him. He was a technician, not a fighter. He had never held a weapon, never faced danger greater than a loose wire sparking under his hand. Yet now this woman asked him to step into a battle that reached beyond anything he had imagined. He looked up again, searching her eyes. Why should I trust you? Myra's smile returned, faint but fearless. Because if you do not, the machine will spread. It will not stop with this station. It will grow, it will reach other stations, other colonies, other worlds. And soon, no one will remain free. They will all smile without choice. Humanity will not be humanity anymore. I carry proof of it within me, Aaron. I am the warning they tried to hide. Her words struck him harder than he expected. He could see no lies in her face. She spoke with the quiet certainty of one who had seen the darkness herself. He wanted to deny it, to push it away, but the alarm outside reminded him that her enemies were real, and they were already searching. Aaron finally stepped forward, standing close to her. His voice was firm though his hands trembled. If I help you, how do we begin? Myra lifted her head, her glow catching the dim light of the room. We begin by reaching the old maintenance shafts. Few guards patrol them, and you know them better than anyone. From there, we can move toward the chamber. But we must move quickly before they close every path. Aaron nodded, though his heart pounded wildly. He had walked those shafts countless times for repairs, but never for something like this. He knew their twists and hidden corners, but he had never thought they might be used for a fight. Myra rose from the bed, her steps steady. She touched the door panel and looked back at him. One last thing, she said softly. Do not fear what I carry within me. It is strange, yes, but it is not your enemy. I am still human, Aaron. And I need you to believe that. Aaron met her gaze and gave a single nod. He did not fully understand her, but he believed enough. He believed in the truth of her voice, in the weight of her warning, and in the fearless way she spoke even while hunted. Together, they stepped into the corridor. The alarm still echoed faintly, but now Aaron no longer felt like a bystander in the noise. He was part of something greater. His quiet life as a simple technician had ended. A new path had begun, one that would test every limit of who he was and what humanity could endure. And as they moved into the shadows of the station, Myra walked at his side, her presence both strange and steady, her eyes glowing softly as if carrying the fire of distant stars. The corridor stretched long and silent as Aaron and Myra walked side by side. The alarm still rang faintly through the station, though it seemed more distant now. Aaron felt his heart race with every step, yet Myra walked as if the sound no longer mattered. She carried herself with a strange calm, as though she had already accepted whatever might come. They reached the first access point to the maintenance shafts. It was a small door hidden behind a supply unit, one Aaron had opened many times during repairs. His hands worked quickly, removing the panel and tapping in the bypass code. The door hissed open, revealing a narrow tunnel of pipes and cables. The air inside smelled of oil and dust, a place where few ever walked unless duty required it. Myra entered first, moving with quiet confidence. Aaron followed, pulling the panel back into place so no one would know the shaft had been opened. They crouched low as they walked, the ceiling pressing close above their heads. Every sound echoed, from the hum of power lines to the soft scrape of their boots against the metal floor. Stay close, Aaron whispered. These shafts connect across the station, but they twist and turn. It is easy to lose your way. Myra nodded. Lead on. I will follow. They moved deeper into the maze. Aaron guided them through turns, up narrow ladders, and past junction boxes that buzzed faintly with energy. He had worked here many times alone, but now the shafts felt different. Every shadow seemed alive, every hum of wires seemed louder. The thought that soldiers might appear at any end of the tunnel pressed hard against his mind. Yet Myra did not show fear. Even when distant footsteps echoed faintly from a side tunnel, she only placed a hand on his arm and waited silently until the sound faded away. Then she smiled at him, not recklessly, but with quiet strength. That smile unsettled Aaron. How could she face such danger and still smile? His hands trembled, yet she moved as though fear itself had no hold on her. At one point, they paused at a vent that looked down into the main corridor below. Through the slats, Aaron saw guards marching in formation. Their eyes were empty, their faces calm. They carried weapons, but their steps were too perfect, too exact, as though no thought guided them. Aaron realized Myra had spoken the truth. These were not soldiers acting by choice. They were minds already caught by the machine. "Do you see now?" Myra whispered beside him. "This is what they become. Not living, not free. Only moving shadows." Aaron's throat tightened. He had worked with some of those faces. He remembered one of them, a man who used to share jokes during long repair hours. Now that same man walked below with no spark in his eyes. "They are gone," Aaron whispered. Myra placed a hand gently on his shoulder. "Not gone, only bound. If the machine falls, perhaps some can return. That is why we must reach it." Her words struck deep. Aaron closed his eyes for a moment, forcing his breath to steady. Then he nodded, and they moved on. After another long crawl, they reached a wider junction chamber. Pipes and wires crossed above them, and the floor was scattered with spare coils and tools left behind from past repairs. Here Aaron stopped, resting for a moment. His muscles ached, and his thoughts pressed heavy. He looked at Myra, who stood calm even in the dim light. "How do you do it?" he asked suddenly. Myra tilted her head. "Do what?" "Walk like this," Aaron said. "Stand calm while danger is everywhere. Smile as though none of it touches you." For the first time, her expression softened into something almost tender. She sat on a coil of wire and looked at him with steady eyes. "Because fear feeds them," she said simply. "The machine takes fear and doubt and uses it to break people. But when I smile, when I let go of fear, I take back my strength. That is what it means to remain human. Not to fight without pain, but to face pain without surrender." Her words sank into him like a seed planted in the dark. Aaron had never thought of courage in that way. He had always believed fear was something to escape, not something to stand against. Yet here she sat, her smile small but unshaken, her voice steady even after all she had endured. He realized then that her smile was not just a habit. It was a weapon. A human weapon against something that wanted to erase humanity. Before Aaron could reply, a sudden noise echoed through the shaft. A metallic clang, close and sharp. He turned quickly, heart racing. From one of the side tunnels, a beam of light swept toward them. "Guards," Aaron hissed. Myra rose at once, her eyes glowing faintly in the dark. "Stay behind me." Aaron crouched low as three guards crawled into the chamber. Their faces were blank, their eyes fixed. They moved with mechanical precision, weapons raised. Aaron felt his chest tighten with terror, but Myra stepped forward calmly, her presence strong. When the guards aimed their weapons, Myra lifted her hands. A faint shimmer pulsed from her palms, rippling through the air like waves on water. The guards froze mid-step, their eyes flickering strangely. For a brief moment, their blank faces twitched, as though fragments of their true selves tried to surface. Aaron stared in awe. She was holding them back, not with violence, but with the very energy the machine had forced into her. "Go," Myra said sharply, her voice filled with strain. "Find the next passage." "I will follow." Aaron hesitated, torn between fear and duty. But the urgency in her voice pushed him forward. He scrambled to the far end of the chamber, searching until he found another ladder leading down. He pulled the hatch open and looked back. Myra still stood firm, her arms trembling as she pushed against the weight of the guard's control. Her face showed strain, but her eyes still held that fearless light. She turned to him and smiled once more, steady and calm. "Remember, Aaron," she called softly. "It is not machines that make us strong. It is the will to stand free." Then she released the shimmer in a burst of energy, sending the guards crashing backward against the metal walls. Without waiting, she ran toward him, and together they descended into the darker shafts below. The station groaned faintly as they moved deeper, the sound of metal echoing like a warning. Aaron's heart pounded, but something inside him had changed. Myra's words and her fearless smile had settled into him like fire. He was still afraid, but fear no longer ruled him. They had survived this step, but the path ahead would only grow harder. The machine waited in the core, and the station itself seemed to close around them like a trap. Yet for the first time, Aaron felt that perhaps they had a chance. Not because of alien power or hidden strength, but because of something simple and human. Because Myra smiled fearlessly, even when the shadows closed in. The deeper Aaron and Myra moved into the maintenance shafts, the colder the air became. Pipes hissed faintly around them, carrying energy toward the station's heart. The walls were narrower here, the hum of the machinery louder, as if they had stepped closer to the very pulse of the station. Aaron's hands ached from climbing ladders and gripping railings, but he pressed on, guided by memory. These tunnels had once been his workplace. Now they were his battlefield. Myra followed closely, her presence steady behind him. She carried no weapon, yet Aaron felt safer with her than he would have with a squad of guards. Her eyes glowed faintly in the dark, casting small reflections across the metal. She did not stumble, did not falter. Every step she took carried purpose. At last, Aaron stopped at a small hatch. He tapped the edges, listening for the hollow sound he remembered. This was the place. Beyond this hatch lay the secondary passage that ran close to the core chamber. He had worked there once, repairing damaged vents, but he had never been allowed near the chamber itself. That place had always been sealed under the highest authority. "This is our way," Aaron whispered. Myra crouched beside him. "Are you certain?" Aaron nodded. "I know the paths. If we move through here, we will reach the chamber wall. From there, we must find a way inside." Myra's expression remained calm, but her voice carried a quiet warning. "The closer we move, the more resistance we will face. The machine does not let its heart remain unguarded." Aaron swallowed hard. He could already imagine it: more guards, more empty eyes, more soldiers who once had names and now carried none. Still, he worked the panel open. The hatch slid aside with a hiss, revealing a dim passage beyond. They entered. The passage was wider than the shafts, but colder. Steam hissed from vents, and the air smelled of ozone. Aaron led Myra forward, counting his steps in silence. He knew they were close when the faint hum of the machine began to echo through the walls. It was not like the hum of wires or pipes. It was deeper, like a pulse, steady and endless. The sound pressed against his chest, as though it sought to match the rhythm of his own heartbeat. Myra placed a hand on the wall, her eyes narrowing. "It is near," she whispered. "Do you feel it?" Aaron nodded. The hum filled his ears now, stronger with every step. He clenched his fists to steady himself. Suddenly, the passage ahead lit up with white beams. Voices echoed. Heavy boots struck the floor. A squad of guards appeared, their faces blank, their eyes empty. Weapons raised, they moved in perfect rhythm, blocking the path. Aaron froze, but Myra stepped forward without hesitation. She raised her hand, her glow flaring brighter. The air shimmered between her and the guards, a wave of strange energy pulsing outward. The guards staggered, but unlike before, they did not fall. They pushed forward, their steps slower but steady, fighting against her resistance. They are stronger here, Myra said through clenched teeth. The machine feeds them. Aaron's mind raced. They could not fight them all head-on. He scanned the walls quickly, searching for anything they could use. His eyes landed on a power conduit running along the ceiling. Sparks flickered faintly at one end. Myra, he called, pointing upward. If I cut that line, the surge might blind them. She gave a sharp nod. Do it. Quickly. Aaron scrambled up the wall, using pipes as footholds. His hands shook as he pulled his small tool from his belt. He had never used it for anything but repairs, yet now he aimed it at the conduit, forcing the charge to break. Sparks exploded, a flash of white light bursting across the corridor. The guards staggered, their eyes flickering wildly as though their connection faltered. Now, Myra shouted. She released another wave of energy, stronger than before. The guards stumbled, weapons clattering to the floor. Their bodies convulsed, and then they collapsed in silence. Aaron dropped back to the ground, breathing hard. His hands trembled from the heat of the sparks, but the path ahead was clear. You did well, Myra said, steadying him with a hand. Aaron shook his head, his chest tight. I only broke a wire. Myra's eyes glowed softly. Sometimes breaking the right wire is greater than holding the strongest weapon. They moved forward again, passing the fallen guards. Aaron did not look too closely at their faces. He could not bear to see them, knowing they were once free. He only walked faster, following the hum that grew louder with every step. Finally, they reached a vast chamber wall. It stretched high above them, smooth and metallic, humming with power. A single door stood at its center, sealed with heavy locks and glowing panels. The core chamber, Aaron whispered. Myra studied the door, her gaze sharp. They will expect us here. But we cannot turn back now. Aaron stepped closer to the panel, examining the locks. They were advanced, far beyond the doors he usually worked on. Layers of security codes, energy barriers, and physical locks twisted together in a web of protection. He felt his stomach tighten. I do not know if I can break this, he admitted. You can, Myra said firmly. Remember what I told you. They think strength lies in power. But true strength lies in will. Do not doubt yourself. Aaron took a deep breath. He placed his hands on the panel, forcing his thoughts to focus. He remembered every lesson from his years of repairs, every trick for bypassing circuits, every hidden path of wires behind the walls. Slowly, carefully, he worked through the codes. The panel flickered, resisted, then opened layer by layer. Behind him, Myra stood watch. She kept her gaze fixed on the shadows, her body tense. She knew more guards could arrive at any moment. The hum of the machine grew heavier, pressing on her mind, but she did not falter. At last, the final lock clicked open. The heavy door rumbled, sliding slowly apart. A wave of cold air rushed out, carrying the full sound of the machine's pulse. It was louder now, like a great heart beating inside the chamber. Aaron stepped back, staring into the vast room beyond. The chamber glowed with pale light. At its center rose the machine itself, a towering structure of metal and crystal, wires stretching like veins into the walls. It pulsed with rhythm, and the air around it shimmered faintly, as if reality bent in its presence. Myra's eyes narrowed. "There it is," she whispered. "The cage of minds." Aaron felt his throat tighten. The machine was larger than he had imagined, vast and alive in its own way. He could almost feel it watching him, pressing against his thoughts, searching for a way inside. Myra placed a hand on his arm. Her grip was steady, her voice calm. "This is where it ends. Together, we strike here, or all will be lost." Aaron looked at her, at the calm fire in her glowing eyes, at the fearless smile that touched her lips even now. He nodded, his own fear shifting into resolve. They stepped into the chamber, the hum surrounding them like a storm. The final battle had begun. The core chamber stretched wide like a cathedral of metal and light. The machine towered at its center, rising like a giant heart of steel and crystal. Its surface pulsed with a pale glow, each rhythm echoing through the air like a living breath. Long cables spread out from its base, feeding into the walls and ceiling, carrying its power across the entire station. Aaron stood frozen at the threshold, his breath caught in his throat. He could feel it pressing against him, not with hands, but with thoughts. It whispered faintly, like voices at the edge of hearing. The sound tried to slip into his mind, bending his will, shaping his fear. "Do you hear it?" Myra asked softly, standing beside him. Aaron nodded. "It is trying to pull me." Myra's eyes glowed brighter in the dim light. "That is what it does. It whispers until you forget which voice is yours. But it cannot bind you, Aaron. You are still free. Hold to that." Her words steadied him. He clenched his fists and forced the whispers away. He focused on her voice, calm and clear. They stepped forward together, their boots echoing on the metallic floor. The chamber was vast, empty except for the machine. Yet Aaron could not shake the feeling that unseen eyes watched from the shadows, waiting. As they drew closer, the machine stirred. The glow brightened, the hum deepened, and the air itself seemed to vibrate. From hidden panels, new figures stepped into view, guards, their faces blank, their eyes hollow. Dozens of them, forming a circle around the machine. Aaron's chest tightened. There were too many. "We cannot fight them all." Myra raised her hands, her glow flaring. "We do not fight them. We break the machine, and they will fall with it." The guards stepped forward in perfect rhythm, weapons raised. Myra spread her arms, a wave of shimmering energy bursting from her body. The guards staggered, but the machine's pulse strengthened, feeding them. They pushed forward again, their eyes fixed. "Aaron," Myra said, her voice strained. "You must reach the base. Sever the conduits. Cut the flow. I will hold them." Aaron turned to her in shock. "You cannot hold them all." Her smile appeared, calm and fearless. "I can, long enough. Go." For a moment, Aaron hesitated. But then he saw the steady light in her eyes, the unshaken strength in her face. He nodded, his fear burning into resolve. "I will do it." He ran toward the base of the machine. The hum grew louder with every step, shaking the floor under him. The conduits were thick, glowing with pale light. Aaron dropped to his knees, pulling his tools from his belt. His hands shook, but he forced them steady. He had repaired countless wires in his life. Now he would break them. Behind him, the clash of energy filled the chamber. Myra stood like a wall of light, waves of shimmering power pushing against the advancing guards. Her body trembled, her breath sharp, but she did not falter. She fought not with weapons, but with the strength the machine had forced into her and with the will to use it for freedom, not control. Aaron cut the first conduit. Sparks flew, the glow flickered, and the hum stuttered for a moment. The machine pulsed harder, fighting to recover. Aaron moved to the next line, slicing through the thick cables. Again sparks burst, again the glow dimmed. The guards faltered for a heartbeat, but the machine surged and drove them forward once more. Myra cried out, pushing harder, her light blazing. Aaron heard her voice call to him, steady even through the strain. Do not stop, Aaron. You are the key. Finish it. He grit his teeth and cut the third conduit. His hands burned, his arms shook, but he kept moving. Sparks lit the chamber in bursts of white fire. The hum faltered again, now uneven, like a heart losing rhythm. Then the machine roared. A pulse of energy burst outward, shaking the chamber. Aaron was thrown to the ground, his tools clattering away. The machine's glow flared, desperate, and the guards surged forward with renewed strength. Myra staggered under the weight, her knees buckling. Aaron forced himself up, blood pounding in his ears. He looked at Myra. She was still standing, her arms outstretched, her glow blazing against the storm. Her smile was still there, fearless even as the weight pressed harder against her. In that moment, Aaron understood. She could not last much longer. If the machine was to fall, he had to strike the final blow now. He ran to the central core, where the largest conduit fed directly into the machine's heart. The glow burned so bright it seared his eyes, but he did not stop. He grabbed the heavy line with both hands, ignoring the pain as energy surged through him. With a cry, he pulled with all his strength. The conduit tore free. Sparks exploded, light blazed, and the hum shattered into silence. The machine screamed. A wave of energy burst outward, throwing Aaron back across the floor. The crystal heart cracked, glowing shards falling like glass. The guards collapsed where they stood, their weapons clattering, their bodies motionless. The pulse was gone. Aaron coughed, forcing himself to rise. His vision blurred, but he searched for Myra. She stood near the fallen guards, her body trembling. The glow around her flickered, fading with the machine's death. She looked at him, her smile still there, soft and fearless. It is done, she whispered. Aaron staggered toward her. We did it. You can rest now. Myra shook her head gently. No. The machine lived inside me as well. With its fall, so must I. This is the price of carrying its shadow. Aaron's chest tightened. No, you can fight it. You are strong enough. Her eyes softened. Strength is not always holding on. Sometimes it is letting go. Her glow dimmed further. She reached out, placing her hand on his shoulder. Remember, Aaron. Humanity is not defined by power. It is defined by the will to stand free. Carry that truth. Carry my smile. Let the galaxy see that humans cannot be broken. Aaron's eyes burned, but he nodded. He grasped her hand tightly as her light faded. She smiled one last time, fearless to the end, and then her body dissolved into soft light that drifted into the air. The chamber grew silent. The machine lay broken, its power gone. The guards lay still, no longer bound. And Aaron stood alone, his chest heavy, his heart burning. He looked at the shards of the machine, then at the empty space where Myra had stood. He felt grief, but also a deep fire within him. She had given everything so others could remain free. When the station recovered from the collapse, stories spread quickly. The machine was gone, the people saved. Many asked how it had fallen, and Aaron told them not of alien power, but of human will. He spoke of a woman who had walked into his room at midnight, carrying both burden and hope. He spoke of her fearless smile, and how it burned brighter than the machine itself. And so, Myra's memory lived on. Across the stars, humans were no longer seen as small or weak. They were the ones who stood against the impossible, who smiled even in the face of darkness. Aaron returned to his work in time, still a technician, still quiet. But inside, he carried her words, her strength, her light. Whenever doubt pressed on him, he remembered her smile, fearless and unbroken. And in that memory, humanity's strength endured.